Hi, welcome to Daddy Curb's farm. It's July and it's hot. These tomatoes aren't going to last a lot longer. Typically, by the end of July, the tomato plants are dead and gone. It takes too much water to keep them alive and keep them producing. We're going to enjoy the harvest while we can, but we know that within a month, all these plants are going to be gone. You can see these tomato plants right here that are facing the evening sun. It's been hot all day long, and now this evening sun is bearing down on them. So these on the end are suffering a little more than those that are in the shadows of these. Some of the plants have already shut down. It was really difficult in this bed for some reason to keep it watered. The sun got to it and the stink bugs got to it before I could get the fruit off of it. Some of the tomato plants, like the yellow pears, have done really well as far as putting on a lot of fruit. But within a few weeks, you can tell already this plant is getting stressed out. Within a few weeks, this plant is going to be gone as well. The tomato plants that I planted in the garden in the springtime, they're going to be done by the end of July. These that I started by cuttings have managed to stay alive, most of them, so I can get them started for the second growing season. Texas has a growing season in the spring and again in the fall. July and August, those are the months that things want to shut down. Not too many things like to grow through those months. Peppers and okra, things like that will do okay, but tomatoes, no. I'm going to transplant these into black plastic pots just to keep them through July and August in a shady spot. We have lots of good stem here that we can bury, so we're going to put this right down in the bottom of the pot on just a little bit of compost soil, and then we're going to cover it up with that in a slightly larger pot where it can start growing some roots. I can keep this in the shade until September, when I can move it and transplant it into the garden. I thought about planting these in the 5-gallon buckets, but I don't want to grow them in the buckets. I just want to put them in something that I can easily transplant when the time gets right. There, I ended up with 13 tomato plants, all of those from cuttings from the plants that I had planted earlier in the spring. So the plants themselves didn't cost me anything but a little bit of time. If any of them are unlucky enough to make it to be transplanted in September, that's okay. If I get at least 3 or 4 good plants to make it through July and August to transplant in September, I'll be in good shape. This space where I have them under this tree gets a little bit of morning sun and a little bit of evening sun, but most of the day it's filtered sunlight or shade. This will give these plants the protection they need to make it through these hot 2 months. In this same general area, there's other garden trees that get watered and animal containers like this kiddie pool that we use for the ducks. As this water gets soiled, as the ducks make it dirty, we scoop it out and put it on the plants. Since we're already using a lot of water in this area, it'll be easy to remember to water those tomato plants. These buckets are outside the garden, so there's some risk of chickens and ducks and cats messing with them. What I'm hoping is that the chickens and the ducks won't bother with them because there will be no fruit on them. And the containers are so small, I'm hoping the cats stay out of them. If we find that there's a problem with any of those animals picking at these plants, we'll just put a protective fence around them until we're ready to move them into the garden. The last few weeks I've been occupied by getting the space ready for the horse. If you missed those videos, go back and check that out. You get to see Maggie Grace come home to the farm, but that took a few weeks of prime gardening season away from me, so some of the garden is in the condition it's in because of my neglect during that time. Hopefully we can redeem ourselves in the second season, at least with tomatoes. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Daddy Curb's farm in the Daddy Curb's garden. I'll talk to you soon.